Alright, well, we're playing with the 701 today, and we are working on Flaperons again. Now, you've seen me in the last video or two playing with my Flaperons that I'd already built, and was not as successful as I wanted to be, so ultimately those parts are going to go in the scrap. So, what I've done is I'm going back, I'm starting Flaperons from scratch. And a little bit of, I guess, description of these Flaperons. Normally your aircraft will have a aileron which controls your roll rate. As we're talking in basic, so guys that know more about this than me, don't jump on me for this, because this is just a basic thing to kind of give an idea of what's happening here. That gives you your roll rate. Your flaps will slow your airspeed or disrupt the air flowing over it. Normally it will slow your approach speeds for landing, is primarily where it's probably used for. As you lower your flaps, why you it creates more drag, disrupts the airflow, and slows down the aircraft more. So Zenith has combined these on the 701, so they call them a flaperon. Normally on a standard wing with ailerons and flaps, why a portion of the wing will have, of each wing will have an aileron, and then the rest of that wing will have a flap on it. So, and they're operated independently. Zenith has combined those two because the 701 is a low and slow aircraft. It doesn't travel that fast, and by making them all one complete unit to act together, why what they've done is given you more authority, or more control authority at slow speeds, is the idea as I understand it behind that. So anyway, that's kind of what a flaperon is in a condensed, non-technical manner that maybe is right, maybe is wrong. Anyway, that's what you get. So I'm starting over. We're starting from drawings again, and these are both just scans of what I hadn't printed out. So I've got two of these, which is going to amount to 3 different form blocks, 3 different cutting blocks, and I'm probably going to draw them all independently. The way Zenith says to do it is take your flaperon splice, or your splice end ribs and your root ribs. After you've made them, why you just cut your pattern in the middle and then build off of that. I will take the time to draw them out. I'll make duplicates of everything so they're all the exact same size. We'll route them on the router with a flush trim bit so that they're all exactly the same. And when we separate them, why we'll have them. To me, it's worth the time to take and make the cutting blocks too while I'm doing it. The reason being, if I would have done it right the first time, it would have been fine. Evidently, I was cutting a little bit of corners, trying to do it a little fast, didn't have everything quite the way it should be, and I screwed them up. So I wasted, at least a couple $100 worth of materials on that little deviation from where I should be. And I think that's probably what stalled this project out more than anything. To me, this is one of the harder parts that I've run into. Usually people will say on the 701s and probably the 750s and everything, the hardest rib to form is the very tip rib for the rudder. It's a small rib. It's got tight radiuses on the edge, very much like this and everything, and it's not very big. So it is a hard piece to turn. But to me, even harder than that, with the equipment that I've got, is the spar for the flaperons, because it's so narrow, and trying to get it bent to the right angles with the equipment that I've got, or with the equipment that I had to do it at that time. So anyway, let's get back to this. What I'm going to do is just lay it out. We've got my little drafting table kind of set up. I've got a functional setup here in the office. This is going to change. I know lighting's not perfect. I don't know what audio is going to be like. So we're here to build airplanes. So until this gets better, why, this is what we got too. So anyway, we're going to start with flaperon root ribs. Now, on these, for the splice end ribs, and the reason these are different, both for ease of construction and for the length of the wing, the flaperons are built all exactly the same. Well, inboards and outboards are different lengths, but otherwise they're built all the same. So we've got 4 flaperons that go together. On the wings, when they're mounted, they're offset a little bit. So that's why we've actually got a splice end rib here rather than just a splice to run them full length. So what happens is they're slightly offset, I think mainly at the back end. There's a splice cap that goes over where they splice at the front, but they're offset. So That's the way the design is. There's a little bit of difference in the way they're drilled for the mounting brackets for the angle that comes through. So that's the reason for that. So we need 2 splice end ribs and then the root ribs, which go in next to the fuselage. 1 left and 1 right. So we've got 1 on each end. The splice ribs, we need 2 left, 2 right. So there's 6 ribs will come off in this form. And then for the nose ribs that go in between, we need 4 left and 4 right. So we need 8 of those. And the rear ribs, we've got 10 left and 10 right. So we've got quite a bit more material there just for the strength of it. That's a flat surface, basically, when you skin that. So they've got more ribs back there. So what we'll do is just lay it out. I need a datum line on this. We're going to go make sure everything's running here so I don't waste time doing this. We're going to run a vertical line, just kind of arbitrary. This setup's kind of Mickey Mouse. The way I've got it set up, if I run my drafting arm too high, why I run into the tripod that's wedged up there where it shouldn't be. So we're just going to take an arbitrary point here and draw a vertical line. So here's our initial datum point. To make our radiuses where I want to start out, we're going up 41 millimeters from that point. So if we go here and come up our 41, and it doesn't really matter where we haven't set our horizontal datum yet. So we want 14 millimeter radius. This will start right there. And if we add 3 more to that to give us 17, will give us our cutting form point. There's that one. Okay, from there, the bottom line will be what I'm going to call our other datum point. Come on now. Oh, that's pretty ugly. Okay, if we come forward 10 millimeters from our datum, right here, this is going to give us our outer perimeter there. So we want that to be 10. I don't want that felt pen though. And down 13. Be right there. And that is going to be a 55 radius. if we add another 15 millimeters for our cutting our okay. Now from this datum, overall length is 138. If we come back 165 back to here, yeah, and if we just connect the dots, let's measure up here 30. I've got a 1/4 inch tooling hole there and a 1/4 inch tooling hole right here. And then these will slightly that one really doesn't on that line. That one will come out a little bit more. And we'll adjust these when we actually start forming the parts. So then we want 16 millimeters also want 16 off the bottom here. Off the vertical, we're going to come back 30. At that point right there. That will blend to that radius. That will blend to that radius. A little bit more than that probably. And there we basically have a cutting pattern. Now we've got tooling holes here, and we've got a tooling hole 30 millimeter from the back end. Those are going to be 1/8 inch holes, I believe. Yep. And that's just going to be centered up in the right there. I realize this is kind of a thrown together setup here, and I kind of fumble along today, but that will give me a cutting pattern. But that will work. 1/8 inch tooling hole there, 1/8 inch tooling hole there. We've got a 1/4 inch is the cutout for there on each of those. So those will get drilled 1/4 inch. We'll lightly radius these edges just so they're a nice smooth transition. And I think we've got it. So this is the first one. I'll go ahead and draw the rest of these up, and then we'll go out and we'll see them again when we start building form blocks. Alright, well, we're going to finish our Flaperon drawings today and maybe start making some form blocks. I finished the first drawing. I went back and was kind of reviewing the video of that. my head was in the way part of the time, so I thought we'd go back and I'll just quickly draw these other two drawings that we're gonna produce here. Hopefully I've got a little different camera angle and it'll work a little bit better for us. So anyway, I've already got our datum line lined out. We're gonna do our nose ribs first. And basically this is a repeat of the back one. I've already got datum lines set up and I've marked my center point for the radius on the front of the nose for the rib itself. And we've come 41 millimeters forward and what's our radius? 14 up, which gives us our nose point right there. And that's where I started this at. So, oh, I should have moved my datum back a little bit, but I think we'll still be okay. We've got just barely room to get it on there. So if we run that line there, let's go ahead and extend that out another 3 millimeters, which will give us 17. That should be right there. Just barely make that one. Okay. We can go ahead and set our next radius, which is this top radius, which is going to be 55 to start with. And 20, 30, 40, 50, 5. I'll double check that when we get ready to actually do that. So this gives us our bottom line, our upper. Let's come forward 10. Which is that mark, and we're going to come down 13 off of the datum. Keep my head out of the way. Gets our 13 right there. And that's going to be the base for our 55 millimeter arc here for the top. Just double check that. 20, 30, 40, 55. Should have brought my Gumby in from the toolbox out in the shop, and I didn't do it. That's all right. And then we're going to add another 16 for our cutting radius. And this is actually only approximate. We'll make adjustments for our flange when we set it up for the form block. That'll be for our uppercut radius here. Now, from our datum, and they show it on an arc, but we're going to come 30 millimeters up and say that should be about right. If we burn 10, that'll put us right about there. One. There again, this is kind of a cut to fit as we go along. So we'll use that as our datum, which will not be exactly right. Come on. Double check us here. Yeah, we're right at 16, so that's right. We're going to have a 1/4 inch hole here, which is this relief. So if we come off of that approximately an 1/8 either way, and we can leave a little bit of extra material right here for now, and we'll go back and trim it later. Same way, we've got an 1/8 inch relief hole or a 1/4 inch relief hole right there. Which actually, this is not on the nose. If we were drawing out the whole thing, it would run on back, but this is just for the nose, so we do those. And then off the bottom, we're going to do that same down 16. Tooling hole right there, or a 1/4 inch hole there, 1/4 inch hole there, and we're coming from our datum. No, we don't come off of our datum. We're going to come off the front of our nose and back 30. So if we come off the front of our nose, that puts us right there. Come back to 30. From that 30. Blend there. And we're going to come back another 16 for our flange on the back side. Much crap and not organized yet. That will give us our flange in the back. That will give us this one. We add one more tooling hole to hold this smaller one, which is 15 forward and centered. Should be right there. So there will be the basic cutout for our cutting block, and then for our rear, we'll use this vertical as our datum, and we'll give us another datum right off the back. I guess we better extend that datum a little bit farther down if we're going to have it right there. So we want to come down 13 and forward 10. We'll go ahead and mark our 71, which is the cut radius here, or the point for the cut. Then we'll go back down to 55 for our radius. Okay. Now we want to come from our datum off 138 and 165. $138 and 165. And we might as well come down our 16. This will actually be the back of our rib right here, which will be this line here, and then our 165 is where we cross. And now we'll go from this point to this point. Come up that same 16. Which is right there. There's the back portion of our rib. We're going to want to angle it just slightly to give us our enough relief, and we can trim this later on if we need to. Then we're going to bring our 16 millimeters back for our flange. Should be right there. Down there. Come there. That will be our cutting blocks. And then our relief hole is going to come forward 30 millimeters. And we'll just center that up right there. Actually, we will match these relief holes off of this. Same way with the nose rib for the tooling holes, or I say relief holes are a tooling hole. We'll do them here. The only two that we add is this one and then this one. And on the rear block, it is, although they're only 1/8 inch tooling holes there. So you want to be sure and watch your tooling holes so you don't overcut them, because these radiuses will be 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, be 1/4 inch there, 1/4 inch there, and then this tooling hole and this tooling hole will both be 1/8 inch tooling holes. And that one just comes back 20, just right there, and centered up. So if we actually measure that out, that should be about, what do we got, 18 both sides. Yep. So those are 1/8 inch. These are 1/4. And go back and double check our drawings and make sure, although they don't specify, so those all can be 1/8 inch tooling holes. We'll be just fine. Yep. Okay, so there's our 4 drawings. I don't think it's necessary to do any other markups on those. Those look to be about where they should be. We'll go ahead and I'll go up to the shop and we'll find some stock for these and lay them out and see if we can't get some form blocks. So anyway, hopefully you find this a little bit useful, interesting, comedy relief, whatever the case may be. Comment suggestions, leave them in the comment section for me below, guys. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch.